It's the PTCs. Here come the PTCs. Here come the Wu-Tang Clan. They won't let you forget them. The free thinkers dress and chill, remember that. Just in case we ever link up and make a pact. The title held by him, Snoop Von Pooh, means what you think you know. He knows the scoop, so don't think twice. What was secret now drops. Khakis with the shades, blunt never stops. Talking riddles, drive with silence. Guard against the haters with hilarious defiance. But yo, we ain't on no scripted list. We straight vibing, connections, no fingerprints. Heard something wild, watch your feet, cause you never quite know where the Wu-Tang's at.
Here come the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. Free thought defenders. Oh, oh, oh. Here come the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. They won't let you forget them. Won't let you forget.
Now from the windy city streets of Chi-Town night, on the timeline, bright post enter sight. Camera zoom on a legendary doom, but then like boom, dry jokes fill the room up with the quickness. Link with the witnesses, phone booth, prod, vivid stories turn to epics. Ain't no PTC.
Nah, please.
Do what we say, that's the way we kick it.
Yeah, nah, me.
I see Snoop get wicked on you with that dry humor. We your first, last, and only line of laughs against the worst boredom in the universe. So don't fear us. If you ever get near, don't sneer us.
We feel it.
PTCs freezing up all the slack.
What's that stand for? Wu-Tang Clan.
And the Wu-Tang Clan. The Wu-Tang Clan.
Let me see you just bounce it with me.
Just bounce with me.
Bounce with me.
Bounce it with me.
Come on, let me see you just slide with me.
Just slide with me.
Slide.
Just slide with me.
Slide. Come on, let me see you take a walk with me.
Just walk with me.
Walk with
Take a
me.
walk with me.
Come on, tune in Tuesday at 6 EST. Here's the thing.
Now freeze!
Here come the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. Free thought defenders. Oh, oh, oh. Here come the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. They won't let you forget them. Oh, no.
Alright, check it. Let me tell you this in closing. Snoop might seem imposing, but trust me, if he ever drops in your section, believe me, it's for your own connection. Cause he knows celebs that you need not know, and he hits places that you need not go. So live your life, forget that lame crap. Show love to the dry wit, cause that's the Von end. That's the Von end.
Here come the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. Here come the defenders. Free fenders. Here come the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. They won't let you forget them. Won't let you forget them. Yeah. Here come the Wu-Tang Clan. Oh, here they come. Sports love and crew. Oh, oh, oh. Here come the Wu-Tang Clan. They won't let you forget them.
Phone Booth Productions.
Here's the thing.
Well, I get up around 7, get out of bed around 9. I don't worry about nothing, no, because worry's a waste of my time. Show usually starts around 7. We go on stage around 9. Get on the bus about 11. Sipping a drink and feeling fine. Hello.
What is up, Mr. Troy Patrick Farrell? How are you today, sir?
What's shaking, bro? Not too bad on a beautiful Thursday as we record this in sunny and hot Las Vegas.
So you're still in Vegas? I'd heard you left.
Who's who told you that? My parole officer?
No, I could have sworn I seen you post something that you had left Vegas or something. And then I was talking to someone, and I think they said, "Did you move to like Boulder City or something?"
Well, that's kind of Vegas. Although, I got to tell you, sometimes it doesn't feel like we're in Vegas because in Boulder City, which is where the Hoover Dam is,
Yep.
and the feds gave Boulder City to the what became a community because all the workers lived here to build the dam, and then they made a little town out of it. So in 1960, it became an official city, and here we are now in 2026. And in 1960, there were 4,000 people, many of them workers and their wives and families. And now, as we sit here today, there's about 14,000. So the growth cap is at 2.5%. It's a real big deal, whenever they build new communities and expand, and they're actually doing so now. But I live in one of those expanded neighborhoods, and it's quite great. But yeah, we certainly don't feel like we're in Vegas, but I'm only 25 minutes from the airport, 25 minutes from the Strip, So you say Vegas, and then if people know Vegas and they've been here, then you can say Henderson or Boulder City, and some of them kind of put two and two together that it's all kind of the same.
Yeah, Boulder City, I think, is it might be the only town in Nevada with no gaming.
That is a fact. Yeah. There's gaming adjacent, so kind of at the end of the highway as it turns up into Henderson. It feels like Boulder City. It's 5 minutes down the road, but it's technically Henderson.
Yeah.
There's table or not table games, but the countertop electronic poker and stuff like that. But fun fact about Boulder City is that the square footage or square mileage, I guess, square miles of Boulder City is actually bigger than Clark County, which is where Las Vegas exists. Yeah. So they gave all the way down to to the south. They basically didn't want people building up to Boulder City. So,
wow.
But yeah, so it's a great place to live, and I love it here. We've been here 4 years, so.
Yeah, I grew up in Henderson right there. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with it. But dude, take me to your early years, man. Where did you grow up, like as a kid, man? Like, where are you from?
Griffith, Indiana, which is just outside of Chicago. 30 minutes outside of the city, and having music in my house all the time. My dad had tons of albums, played music all the time. My brother was and still is a bass player. And so, there was a lot of rock and roll happening in the house. 7 a.m., getting ready for school, driving my mom crazy with Van Halen or Thin Lizzy or Dio, Aerosmith on the turntable, Cheap Trick. My brother was in a band with three brothers, two doors down. So he was the bass player. There's the name of a band, right? Three Brothers, Two Doors Down. But they consisted of a drummer and two guitar players, and the two guitar player guys sang, and they needed a bass player. My brother was quite, few years younger than them, but he started, in that band, and he was playing in, clubs and bar and grills at the age of 14, singing AC/DC. So, the house had a lot of music going on in it. A lot of my friends that I resonated with in school were musicians before I became a drummer, which, by the way, I do believe drummers are musicians, despite the fact that many people say, what do you call a drummer? And the answer is a guy that hangs out with musicians, right?
Right.
Anyway,
so you do more than keep time.
I try. I know how to book flights and find lost luggage too. But, seeing my first Dio concert in 1983, in the 11th row, watching Vinny Appice, I was like, that's it. Like, that spoke to me, and the drums spoke to me. And so that was the day I decided, that's it. I'm going to be a drummer.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned Vinny Appice. I met and saw Vinny at the first place that I ever met you. I don't know if you remember this, but I met you at Tailspin Bar and Grill years ago. I don't even remember what band you were there with. It might have been Mike Tramp.
It was Tramp, yeah.
Was it? Okay. But he had played there with somebody else, and I just didn't realize how badass he really is, because you see him in such an intimate space, and you're like, holy cow, this dude's the shit. But you're from Indiana, 30 minutes outside Chicago. Are you a Chicago Bears fan at all?
No, I kind of just became a fan of the Miami Dolphins as a young kid, especially in the mid 80s. I mean, they had an undefeated season. It was hard not to root for Dan Marino and Mark Duper and all those guys, Shula. And I'm still a Dolphins fan to this day. So, but listen, when the Bears are doing good, I root for the Bears. You know, a lot of people were like, "Well, hey, are you a Colts fan?" But you know, Indianapolis is 2.5 hours south from where I grew up, so it's another world. You know,
Yeah.
when you live in the region of Northwest Indiana, which is like Highland, Munster, Griffith, Hammond, Gary, you know that sort of where the steel mills used to be, and you know, real blue collar kind of nuts and bolts part of Indiana. You resonated with Chicago, and you kind of felt a part of Chicago.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because they're talking about moving the Bears stadium over there to
Oh yeah,
Indiana.
oh yeah, yeah. There's a
Uh,
couple spots, and I think there's two spots. I think Gary, and then I think in Hammond.
I was gonna say Hammond, I think, is where they're
Yeah,
looking.
yeah. You know, Gary's trying to make a big play for because they've got a beautiful Hard Rock Casino and hotel there now, and they put an airport there, and they're trying to make it another sort of South Side Chicago kind of hub. They're really trying to bring a lot of you know, hope and revitalization to Gary, which I think would be great for the region that I grew up in. But you know, every time I go back there, man, I think I still see the same traffic cones from, you know, 1990. They're still working on the 8094. Here we are 40 years later.
Well, that's like Vegas. We used to say that
Yeah, the flower.
the state flower of Nevada was the
Yep.
construction cone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. We're from roughly the same area. I'm from like northern suburbs of Chicago, like Highland Park, Highwood area, Lake Forest, up north. But
Yeah, I played a lot of the clubs in the suburbs, and you know, the Thirsty Whales and the Stay Out West, and you know, there were so many of them. I kind of forget a lot of them. Penny Road Pub in Barrington, but yeah, that's where I, you know, cut my teeth as a teenager, playing, opening up for, you know, Odette, and opening up for Enough's Enough if we were lucky enough. And I mean, there was, you know, Smash Alley. I mean, there was so many bands that came out of Chicago. It was a great time when I was growing up.
I just read you played with Enough's Enough. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know, I've played with Chip, with John Monaco
Okay.
as a three-piece. You know, back in like 2017.
Oh, okay.
We did some touring and stuff, and then I've played with Donnie V as a solo guy. You know, putting a band together and doing some dates with him, and I've recorded on Donnie's. I recorded a couple tracks on his Just Enough solo album, and then I played with Chip and Donnie at the Janie Lane Memorial, which was, you know, many years ago now. And you know, and I've always loved those guys. They were my generation's Cheap Trick. You know, I thought, you know, Cheap Trick was 70s. I was born in the 70s, and Enough's Enough was really starting to make some headway in the mid 80s. And I remember going to see him for the first time, and I was like, that's a band I can resonate with. You know, so that's kind of my band. And you know, I got a text message from Chip today, and you know, I happened to interview his wife yesterday. We'll get into the radio show at some point, but I thought about it when I got this message, getting a message from Chip going, "Hey, thanks for that interview you did with my wife yesterday." I'm going, this is Chip's Enough. Here we are messaging me now, you know, so decades later, and to have that connection to him really just, you know, makes my teenage heart just kind of go, wow, this is cool, you know. So
That
I
is
still
cool.
love and respect those guys.
Yeah, I met him and hung out with those guys in the late '90s at some point, and I just remember being on the bus with them and Chip being really cool. You
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
So take me through how you like got into music. I mean, I know you played with in your younger years growing up, but then how'd you like get into? Who was your first band? Was it White Lion?
No. You know, a lot of bands before that, but I had a band in Northwest Indiana called Brat, and my first official band, my first gig was a Battle of the Bands in Central Park in Griffith, Indiana. And for those that are from the region and know Griffith, we had the tank. That was the big deal, that we had a park. In the park, we had a tank from some war. Who knows where it came from? But the kids would climb on it and hang from it. And there was a flatbed trailer there, and we played there. And I think the band was called Lady Scarlet. I have no idea why. There was no lady in the band. There was no Scarlet, but that was the band name. And we got second place. And then after that, I met some people from Hammond and some people that, you know, were not, that I didn't go to school with. And because my first band was everybody in my Griffith high school, right? And after that, when I started Brat, I had branched out, met some other people, and started a band. And that was the band that we really, you know, we did demos and videos. We have a Brat home video, which I made on multiple VCRs back in the day, you know. And and I did that up until I graduated, and then in '92, the bass player from Brat and I moved to LA, and the singer from Lady Scarlet was already living there, and my band manager from the Brat days was already living in Southern California. So the move was kind of easy because I had people that
Sure.
already been there and kind of laid the groundwork out for us, and I never went back.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, you get out there in them warm, sunny skies, and it's just like it's amazing. I have a love-hate relationship with LA.
Oh,
Like,
me too. I currently hate it.
yeah, that's where I'm at too. Like, I love going there, but I would never want to live there again. Like,
Never.
it's just a madhouse.
Yeah.
But
I lived there 22 years. I left for Vegas in 2014, still here. And, I go back there a lot for rehearsals. I play with guys that are, Gilby Clark, who's based in LA. So before we head off to South America or Europe or whatever, I'll come in there a couple days before. We'll rehearse. And it is not the place I left, 12 years ago, and I don't mean that for the better. And so while I say I hate LA, I don't really hate LA. I hate the people that have ruined LA because it's like, why do you care? You don't live there anymore. If you're so happy in Vegas, embrace Vegas. But I got a lot of friends there. My cousin lives there, and I lived there for 22 years of my life. So at this point. If I did the math, about half of my life, a little bit more than half my life. It's a big part of me. So when I go back there and I see what a shithole it is, it breaks my heart and it makes me upset at the people that have made it that way.
well, it's funny because that's kind of how I feel about Vegas these days. I lived there for 20 years.
Okay.
And I grew up there. My teenage years were there. And it was such a different town in the '90s than it is today. Like today, it's like Disneyland for adults.
Yeah.
Like it's too much. And then everybody wants to charge you $40 for parking, $20 for a beer. It's just like out of control. Like.
Yeah, well, my wife is a Vegas native. She's a rarity. She's a unicorn in many other ways, but that's one of the unicorn aspects she has of her. But yeah, I mean, she's drastically seen the changes, massively, and she works in the city and gets to see all the changes daily. But yeah, that stuff does. That's why we don't go out. I mean, unless I'm like on a guest list or it's a good friend or somebody comes in from out of town, it's like we stay in our little bubble and we go out when necessary. But yeah, man, it's you got to take out a loan to go out for a night sometimes. And that's kind of really anywhere, and it's kind of a shame. I think at some point the bubble is gonna boost and people are just gonna stop doing things and things are gonna have to kind of suck down a little bit. So until people stop paying the prices, they will continue to go up. So stop paying.
Yeah, right. The resort fees are out of control too.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
You get a $17 room and you're like trying to figure out like why is it $140?
Right.
mean,
That doesn't count anything else either, food or anything.
Yeah, right.
So you moved to LA in '92. When was your first big break? Like what?
Yeah, I would say, 93, 94 is when I met Todd Howarth, and Todd was and still is a great singer, songwriter, keyboard player. He was playing with Cheap Trick at the time as a keyboard player and backing vocalist, but he was in Ace Frehley's Comet. He played in 707, and he also played with Ted Nugent on the '94 Penetrator tour. So, Todd was living down in San Diego, put an ad out, and he was advertising in the Valley where I lived, in the 818, even though he lived in the 619, 2 hours south. And, I went there, was the last guy for the audition, and he was like, hey, man, you're the guy. He liked the pocket and that I played for the songs. And that was something that, as a drummer going to drum lessons, everybody's like, hey, who's your favorite drummer? Is it Neil Peart? And I'm like, Neil's great, obviously, but that's like algebra to me, and I'm not, I'm not great at that. I love and admire from afar, and I applaud, but I don't think I have it in me to replicate that. I grew up on more of the meat and potatoes kind of drummers, Tommy Lee, Joey Kramer with that hi-hat always going, no matter what he's doing, that hi-hat's going. It's just about the, playing for the song and admiring and trying to enhance the song and not, but listen, what Neil does in Rush is, that's what works, But
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I get a lot of flack for it because I'm not a big Neil Peart fan.
yeah,
He's amazing, like you said. He's incredible at what he does. It's just overkill for me sometimes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And listen, I think the music commands it, and it's great. And but I mean, Rush was never really spinning in the house.
Are you there, Troy? Are you there, Troy? All right, I lost you there for a second, but you're back.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, but I like I said, or like I think I was saying, was I think the music of Rush commands his type of playing. It just never resonated with me. We didn't have that stuff going on in the house. We had, Aerosmith and Dio and just kind of meat and potatoes kind of stuff. And that was the sort of the when I was taking drum lessons, I would learn to play to a metronome, like right out of the gate. My teacher, Jim Urim, my instructor, he was like, "What do you want to do? Why are you here taking lessons? Do you want to, be in the marching band? Do you want to, play in a band?" I'm like, "I want to play in a rock and roll band." He's like, "All right, you got to learn how to play to a click." But the thing he said to me that I'll never forget is, you don't play to a click, you play with a click, and because you can be a little behind it, be a little head. You can still breathe and move as a human within a metronome that's keeping exact time. And I think it was that approach to my drumming that I brought with me to this audition, and that's what Todd was looking for, So that would be the first gig I did in L.A., and, Todd and I still talk, and a bass player, Time, and Jeff Marshall's a great blues guitar player out there on the scene. So, and everybody that I've crossed paths with over the decades are all still out there doing it, in some way, shape, or form. It's awesome.
Yeah, you've played with quite a few people. I was surprised to see you play with Samantha Seven.
No, I played with CC DeVille doing Samantha Seven. So,
Okay.
yeah, he was hanging out at the Cat Club
Been there.
some years ago. Yeah, the world famous Cat Club right next there, right down the street from the whiskey. But Slim Jim Phantom was part owner of that. It was actually almost next door to the whiskey. I think there was a place in between. But anyway, it's an Irish bar now. But if those walls could talk.
Yeah, yeah.
But CC DeVille was hanging out there with on the Sunday nights with Happening Harry and the Haptones,
Oh
and
yeah, happened to Harry. Yeah.
they were buddies. And Harry goes, "Hey man, you should come and play some Poison," or he's like, "I don't want to fuck that. I don't want to play Poison. You should do Samantha Seven." And somehow I was like, "Hey, I'll do it," And then we had Roxy Michaels on bass. Roxy passed away many years ago. Well-liked dude. He was kind of a glam punk rock guy, but super solid bro, And so it was the three of us. So yeah, there's some videos out there floating around of us doing a couple nights it's probably over the course of a month or so. We did it only a couple times, but we did all Samantha Seven tunes. Did not do any Poison, and it was awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was surprised to hear that. So take me into White Lion and Mike Tramp. How did you get involved with that?
Yeah, 2001, and this ties into my time with Todd Howarth and some of the other bands that I met while playing with these bands. There was a band called Choking Ghost, and I feel like we used to kind of rehearse in this same complex together, but I had a three-piece blues band called Dragon, blues rock band, called Dragon, and it consisted of everybody from Chicago. George Adrian, which was he was in a band called Cherry Rocket from back in the day, Chicago, and then Darren Laszlo was from a Northwest Indiana band called Sergeant Rocks, and it was the three of us. We had this band Dragon. We always did a lot of shows with Choking Ghost, and it was just through a friend of a friend. Mike Tramp was coming to tour for the Capricorn album, which he put out in '99, and he needed a band, so he was going to recruit Jerry Best and Kenny Carade from the Freak of Nature Days, which is the band after Tramp ended White Lion. Freak of Nature was the next band. Jerry and Kenny were in his band, and so they were going to be the backup band with this drummer they were playing with. Well, the drummer couldn't commit to the tour, so they're starting to look around, and it was just word of mouth. This guy from Choking Ghost said, "Hey, I know this drummer for this band. You should hit him up." And I went down. I got a CD. I met Jerry, and in person, you get the CD, and there was 3 songs on there. I was like, "Yeah, I could do this," And it was even though we did a couple White Lion tunes, the vibe was very different because Mike, as a solo singer songwriter, is a little bit more like Bryan Adams, Bruce Springsteen. So while he was promoting that, people expected to hear a little bit of White Lion, but it was a different approach to it. And I auditioned, and Jerry gave me the thumbs up, and then I met Mike. A week or so later, we rehearsed for a few days and went on the road. So that's that. Ultimately, that connection of playing with him in a solo band in '01 is what led to me getting chosen to be his drummer in '05 when he put together a different version of White Lion, and we did that for almost 5 years.
And Vito Bratta was not a part of that, was he?
No. Vito's not been a part of White Lion in a live fashion, or really any fashion, other than, of course, he's still part of probably the old business.
Sure.
That hasn't changed. But since the band expanded, he's never been a part of it.
Is it like he has something wrong with his hand or something, right? Is that why he's not a part of it, or is there other reasons? Or?
I just don't know that. I've heard, there's always been so many stories that he owns a pizza shop and that he's taking care of his family, which, by the way, I have heard that, he's still in the same neighborhood that he grew up in, and cut his teeth doing, White Lion in the, Staten Island, Brooklyn, wherever. And I think he's very tight with his family, and that's also a very Italian thing,
Sure.
to stay close to the family. The hand thing, I don't know. I don't know if he's ever owned a pizza shop. I don't know about that. Being disgruntled about the business, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I certainly get it if he is, So it's unforgiving,
It's sad when you see a guy of his talent, that is not doing it anymore. It's sad.
It is. But I look at that and go, well, we're not happy about that, but is he happy? And I think if he's happy and he's got some peace, I'd like to think that he picks up his guitar and still plays. Listen, the business may get you out of the business, and I don't want to be a part of it anymore, but I don't think that means you stop being a musician and stop creating. So I'd like to think that, he's in his house right now, 3 hours ahead of us, playing something,
Yeah. So you're doing Mike Tramp stuff, and what just recently, maybe a year or so ago, wasn't there news that you apparently were fired from Tramp and then you're back in it, and you didn't even know about it? Is that something? Am I making that up, or?
No. I don't know. I don't know if you're making that. I think you're making that's not. Well, I'm currently, the update is I'm currently back with Mike Tramp,
Right.
of White Lion. Okay, and that's how it's being billed. And Jerry Best is on bass, my friend from 2001. So we have a 20 plus year history, on and off, obviously with a lot of time in between, of playing together. And Marcus Nand is taking over the duties of Vito Bratta, and if Vito can't do it, Marcus is not only more than willing, but certainly more than able to do it. I mean, it's just fantastic. So over the years, listen, Mike and I have talked, and we never stop talking, and there's always been talk about, like, hey, I want to come back to the States, do something, go to South America. You try to come up with ideas and things that you can do, and more often than not, they don't work out for whatever reason, or a bunny goes by and you're like, oh, look, let's go that way, and then you're off doing something else, and that happens to all of us in life, So, I was speaking to him in 2023 about doing some stuff, and he started re-recording the songs of White Lion. He's put out 3 CDs or albums of those, of re-recorded versions of the classic songs, not only the hits, but even the deep cuts, and that's how we're playing them live, So I've since been back with him officially on official status since January of this year, and ultimately the idea was I was supposed to be a part of the band in 2024, and it didn't work out. I was still doing other gigs, and we were supposed to get together. I was going to get together with Jerry and Marcus and start working on some stuff. There was an approach that they were going to take in the live fashion with how they were going to present the songs, using a lot of electronics. And that's a world I'm not super familiar with, but I get it. And, my mind is technically driven, so give me something, give me a manual, give me some Chat GPT, I'll figure it out, right?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned AI. I want to bring that up in just a minute.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Lost Angels. What's going on with Lost Angels?
Yeah, well, let me just finish up the white line thing, and we'll shift into that. Ultimately, there was we were two ships passing in the night. It didn't work out on a scheduling basis for me to get up there, and I think Marcus and Jerry and Tramp were just like, hey, we got a guy in our back pocket here. He's ready to go. Let's do it. So they got another drummer, and I wasn't super stoked about that because I feel like I felt like if anybody should be given a chance to come in and do this, I felt like my name should be on the short list,
Well, yeah, I mean, after 25 years, sure, yeah.
Well, having that history with him, but just having the history of the White Line music with Mike, I thought if something was going to come together, my name would at least be a part of the conversation. And it was, and it just didn't work out. And anyway, 2024, goes and comes and goes, and we're kind of on better terms at this point. Everything's cool because I was a little butthurt that I wasn't a part of it from the early stages, but sometimes things just work out that way, and you don't see it until it resolves itself, and you go, all right, hey, that was the plan, I guess, But Tramp and I got together in 2025 here in Vegas. I saw the band, fantastic band. They had Jason Sutter on drums, who's kind of like one of those mercenary guys, kind of like me, But I felt like I was pretty attached to this stuff emotionally. I think these songs are in my DNA from playing them. We played, I don't know, 500 shows together, maybe more, maybe less. Put out a lot of live DVDs. We played some marquee shows, 42,000 people in India with Firehouse in a soccer stadium, the Bang Your Head Festival, 30 plus thousand people. So we did some really cool things, and I was, I would always hope that I'd be considered to be a part of it if, whatever the plan is, Anyway, late last year, Mike said, hey, I want you to, come back in an official fashion and be a part of this band. I did my first gig in January. We had our second one in February. We've had a little bit of a lapse of time. It's not great to jump into something and then have all this downtime, but I'm at home rehearsing stuff, playing with live tapes, so I can play with the band even though they're not here. And we've got our next show early April with supporting Sebastian Bach in St. Pete, Florida, April that'd be the 3rd. So pretty stoked to be a part of it. We're doing casinos now and M3 Festival, the Mountain Festival, and I'm super stoked to be back watching Mike Tramp shake his ass in front of me for 45 to 90 minutes a night, depending on.
Well, I was glad to hear you were back in the band because I remember when you posted that you were kind of shocked when it happened, and I was like, wow, that is shocking.
Yeah, listen, I'm a cancer. I'm an emotional guy, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, and anything that I've said online, I've said to people, personally as well, and listen, I get messages going, hey, Mike Tramp's out there playing again. Why are you not the drummer? And I'm like, that's a great fucking question. If you have the answer, let me know. But it just sometimes shit just works out that way, and I appreciate this opportunity. I don't think that that I should be given this opportunity. I feel like I should earn it, and those guys put me through some really good rehearsals to earn my spot, and I appreciate being here even more, knowing that I had to put the work in, and they fucking held the fire to me, and I appreciate that because. When we go out there now, the band's going to kick ass, and it's cool to be a part of, and I'm super thankful to be here.
Yeah, hard work pays off, and that's a great example of it, just taking the time and putting in the chops,
Yeah, and like I said, nothing's a given, and sometimes you got to work for the same thing over and over. I mean, I still try to date my wife, you gotta keep that shit happening, but
keep it funky.
Yeah, keep it funky. But you mentioned Lost Angels, and speaking of big shows in India, our first shows as a band was in 2010 in India. John Corabi, and at the time on bass was Muddy Stardust, who I hear is in the Black Crowes now. So
wow.
Yeah,
it's funny. I saw a Black Crow show with John Corabi. We went and saw the Black Crows together.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then of course I can't forget the Secret Weapon, Eric Dover on guitar and vocals. I mean, he is that guy is just he's amazing. So yeah, we put that together, but because of my time in India with White Lion, there was a promoter there, not affiliated with the White Line shows, that had hit me up about putting together an all-star something. So I called my friends, and said, hey, you guys want to put together a cover band with guys, from the bands, and then we'll also play some, Queen and, Beatles, whatever, And that's how that came together, and it's still active today. We did a show a few years ago with some different people. Stacy Blades on guitar, Sean
okay.
McNabb, and then of course Eric Dover. I mean, Eric Dover for me always has to be there because the guy. There are no limits when he's in your band. He'll play and sing anything, and he'll kick ass at it. So it's great. But yeah, over the years we've had EJ Curse on bass, who I play with in a band with Gilby. When we back him up in a solo band, the Gilby Clark Band. And we've had Eric Brittingham from Cinderella in Los Angeles, So it's a little bit of a revolving door of musicians. I've been the only drummer in the band, and I don't know if that's by design, but it's job security or, but it's kind of my thing that I put together. So when it ramps up, it's because somebody calls me and then I herd all the cats and hope we can make something happen. And over the years, we've done some great stuff. I can't forget going over to Scandinavia and Europe and the UK, and that's where Ryan Roxy comes in. So Ryan Roxy and Eric Dover are back on stage together again when they were in Alice Cooper for a decade together. Alice Cooper and Ryan Roxy's still part of Alice Cooper. In fact, he might even be about 25 minutes from me in Vegas because they're doing shows in town here. So with Chris Angel,
Okay, yeah. I saw they were doing something with Chris Angel.
Yeah, they're doing like 9 limited shows where it's the Alice Cooper band, but doing a theatrical performance mixed in with, the mind freak of Chris Angel, and I think it's supposed to be pretty rad. I'm hoping to see it in May.
That's cool.
Ryan Roxy, if you're out there.
You played in Tantric too.
I did. Yeah.
You got anything you want to talk about with them? How long were you in Tantric?
I was in Tantric for better part of 2 years, and we did one album together, the Mercury Retrograde album, which I am super proud of. I liked Tantric when the Breakdown came down. I liked some of those early 2000s bands, and thought Hugo's voice. Still think Hugo's voice is great. I still love the guy. We didn't leave on great terms, and business always gets in the way of that. Sure. And sometimes when you feel like you can't overcome business, then you feel that the person that you're not overcoming the business with doesn't value as a person. So listen, I get business is business, and when you have just general transactions, on a daily basis, that's one thing. But when you're in a band and somebody wants to restructure your business deal, and you go, man, that just seems like too much of a stretch, and they're non-negotiable about it, well, then you start feeling, well, they don't even give a fuck about me, so what am I here negotiating for, So, again, I left pretty bummed out because I put a lot of blood, sweat, and many tears playing with him, getting his operation organized, the talent and the songwriting ability he has down. It's the other 22 hours out of the day that you have to have together to make sure that talent flourishes, And I've got kind of a business mindset, so I'm trying to make sure, everybody's getting on their flights and, booking shows and renting vans and, all that other stuff. And, I just feel like, that's not his forte, and that's okay. You just got to have the right guy in there. So I felt really invested in him, and I felt like I helped him put together a lineup that was fucking rock solid, and ultimately in the last quarter of me being in that band, it was myself on drums, Jaron Galino on bass, who I brought in from another band, and I'm not patting myself on the back for doing that. That's how badass of a bass player Jaron is, and I'm like, we need a guy, I got a guy, so I brought him in, and we had in fact Johnny Monaco was the guitar player I dragged out on that.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. And ultimately, we ended up with Sebastian Labar, son of Jeff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shout out. Happy birthday, Jeff Labar. His birthday was yesterday.
Yeah. Heavenly birthday.
Heavenly birthday, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff was my roommate, another band we haven't talked about, kind of like Los Angeles, but a little different. But that's Cheap Thrill. And that's myself, Brandon Gibbs, and Jeff Labar. and Eric Brittingham. And now we've got Joel Kosha on guitar, and he was in Collective Soul for 13 years, you know. And EJ Kirst joins us when we do full live shows, but pretty much the three of us, Brandon, Joel, and I, we just do a lot of acoustic stuff together and kind of amp it up with a cajon and a snare with a towel on it, you know, but kind of do a singer-songwriter storyteller thing and just have an experience instead of us just going up there and playing 20 songs, you know. Sure. But yeah, it's cool, man. It's all these different things that I've done, whatever band it is, you know, you try to take a little something from them, even though typically they take a lot more of you with them. But back to Tantric, you know, left on some pretty bad terms, you know, feelings hurt, bad business. I felt like I came home being owed money, you know. But just last year, Jaron, Sebastian, and I, along with Hugo, did 2 shows in, Kansas, I think, Tulsa, Oklahoma, I guess. We did 2 shows out there, and it was just 2 shows, and that's all it was, probably all it will ever be. But I felt like all those bad feelings and bad vibes were erased. You know,
good. That's good.
We got up there, no rehearsal. We opened up for Trap, so we played about 10 songs each night, and it was fucking awesome. Like, it was great, and I love that Hugo's my buddy again, you know? So, it's cool. I don't think I'll ever play with Hugo. I mean, I never say never, but I don't see that in my future or his future, but I know that if he's in town or if he needs something or if I need something, I know that we'll pick up each other's phone calls now, and that's not something that was happening over the last 6-7 years. So I'm glad that those 2 shows changed that.
Yeah, it's really tough, when you're in business with friends and even family. You guys are on the road together in tight quarters, spending all day together. You're family at that point. I was in business with a friend of mine, and it's unfortunate we haven't spoken in 15 years. Because I got screwed over out of the business, but. I would like to be in that position where we could take each other's phone calls again. That would be nice. But I know you're pressed for time today, so I just got 2 things I want to talk about real quick. One of them being AI. What do you think about AI and the direction that it's going, how it's affecting music? Like, what's your opinion on it?
Well, I think I'm certainly a proponent for AI. I guess when it works for me, I use some AI to do some adverts for my radio show, and or flyers or artwork, graphics, because I'm not a great graphics guy, but I can put stuff together in Microsoft Publisher, which they're getting rid of in October, so like I'm gonna have to learn something new. But as far as like AI driven music, while it's fascinating and cool that anybody can plug in some words and do a song, it's crazy to see that there's a good chance that we're going to lose singers and songwriters. I mean, that people might, doesn't mean that people aren't going to do it, but they're not going to pursue getting music out to the masses. I think, there's a lot of artists, and people just don't know about them because they never got into, mass, whatever production of whatever their art is, and to see that real organic rock and roll bands are being threatened by technology. While I applaud the technology, I think it's got to stay out of the arts, and but I don't think there's any stopping it. So I don't know, man. It's confusing because again, it's kind of like somebody that's that eats meat, but they don't want to watch the slaughter video. You know what I mean? Like, right. Once I see that, I'll see it when it's on my plate. It's kind of with AI. We all hate AI, but God damn it, we're eating the steak. We're using it, and now it's being integrated to where we're using it, and we don't even know it. So, it's great and it's fascinating, and it's also pretty scary. It's pretty scary stuff.
I think it's pretty neat the way it can be incorporated and using it in new ways. I don't think that it will ever replace the organicness of having 4 guys in a room jamming.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you know who Kerry Kelly is.
Yeah.
He's got a new thing called Metal Warrior, and like it's all AI. They created a graphic novel. They're doing all this AI stuff, and I think it's really neat. You know. But I was talking to Brett Perozzi, who was Snake from Skid Row's tech for a long time, and he was saying, it's great. Or or it's not great for new music. But what's nice is like these older bands, like Skid Row and Tesla and White Lion, Mike Tramp, stuff like that. They're always going to be able to have shows because of the classic organicness of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? AI can never replace that.
Yeah, and the demographic of a legacy band like White Lion, Skid Row, all the bands you mentioned, the demographic of that is that of that's not really where AI is pointed to. AI is pointing to our younger generations. So for the older generations, AI is not going to necessarily be embraced by the crowd that wants to go see an Alice Cooper show or whatever. They want to see Alice Cooper. I don't want to see a video of Alice Cooper. I want to see the guy. And God bless him for being out there at his age and just kicking ass and showing all the other bands how to put on a rock and roll show. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen so many of his shows from Carrie, because I've known Carrie forever.
Yeah, that's right. He was a long time with it. But one thing back to AI is that I hope that AI can be used for good, not for the evil. In the medical fields and for the knowledge base.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because I was just at the doctor with my mother the other day, and I was telling her how scary it is because my mother's primary doctor is using AI to diagnose her stuff, and I'm just like I'm sitting back thinking, all these kids in medical school right now are using fucking Chat GPT
Yeah.
for their shit. Like, what? I mean, what? Like, are they going to be able to be doctors? Like,
Yeah, that's a little scary because there's times you something is not true and then you go ChatGPT, this is actually not true, and you'll source it like, oh yeah, you're right, good thing you caught that. I'm like,
Well, I don't-
hope I'm not on the operating table when that gets figured out.
I don't know if you saw Grok, which is X's AI.
Yeah.
Fully anti-Semitic and was just hating on Jews for like 2 days, and then X ended up suspending the Grok account because of it. Like, how crazy is that shit? AI is
It's like
suspending
grounding.
AI.
It's like grounding your son for TPing the neighbor's house or whatever. It's like go to your room. But Elon Musk has been posting this AI, these generated videos, and it looks like like pubescent girls, but in like fantasy land, and they're wearing and I'm like, man, I feel like this is borderline illegal. I'm not sure, but I get the technology and the somebody typing in something and coming in. I'm like, what is Elon Musk typing in his prompt to get these?
Yeah, right.
Because they're all kind of trending and I'm a little disturbed by them, but whatever. I just listen. At the end of the day, humans will do anything to fuck shit up, and even if they help develop this great technology, they're going to develop this, I don't know, maybe the technology will end up, getting rid of the humans, and wouldn't that be, I mean, that would almost be like, I don't know what the term is, but it just would be ironic, but yet not, that humans would invent something to get rid of humans, because I got to tell you, and I'm a human as well, and I'm flawed, but I am just so disappointed in our species. We are a letdown. We just ruined everything. I feel like we're a cancer in the universe.
Yeah, we're like mold on the sandwich,
God bless it, man.
So I do 3 different podcasts, and
Okay.
one of them we do like conspiracy type stuff. So I wanted to know, do you have like a go-to conspiracy that you believe in? Be it the JFK assassination or 9/11 or chemtrails or
Yeah,
anything.
I gotta think. There's a little bit of meat on the bone for every conspiracy, and certainly some of the arguments for all those that you mentioned, and the chemtrails and Area 51 and the aliens and stuff. Do I think there's other species? I mean, we're here. Why wouldn't there be other? I mean, there's millions of other species, of all kinds. But are there some that are similar to humans? Why are we so cocky that we think that we're the only game in town,
Right.
And I just say, the aliens aren't coming down here yet because this is like going to like South Central. They don't want to hang out over here. We've pretty much for the most part ruined this earth. But when AI when AI gets rid of all the human beings, the aliens will come here and fix the planet Earth for us. I don't know. I'm not like this earther guy or climate change guy. I'm not that kind of guy. I just I think social media has really enlightened me to really how terrible people are.
Sure.
You know,
It
so
certainly has.
a little
Yeah.
down on human beings the past few years.
But, well, Troy, man, I really thank you for taking time out of your busy day today to chat with me. We didn't even get into this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, I got, I mean, if you got some time, I mean, I certainly would like to talk about it because that's something that I've been doing for 7 years, and I do it
dude,
every
promote the
Wednesday.
shit out of it, man. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so this and the other radio show, I started doing it in Vegas when I did an interview with someone like yourself who happened to have a radio station, and a buddy called me. He says, "Hey, this guy's doing a remote at the M. You want to come down and maybe just we'll play some music and talk about just talk about like what you and I are talking about on the air." And the guy, Crazy Jay, he had a station called RadioVegas.rocks, and he's like, "Hey, I got a studio I run out of my house, and would you like to have a shift? Take a shift?" And I was like, "Yeah." I didn't know what I was going to do, but growing up listening to Howard Stern and talk radio, KFI when I moved to LA, and KLSX. I mean, I listened to a lot of talk radio. My dad had a lot of talk radio and radio programs, like Suspense, like the old time radio shows, and where you wouldn't see anybody, but you can picture it in your head based on how great they were telling the story. So I've always liked the variety kind of show. Play some music, do an interview, talk stuff, whatever's happening, and like yesterday we had Chip Enough's wife on, who authored a book with Jack Russell, for Jack Russell.
I want to read that book, man, because he's an interesting guy.
Yeah, it just got pulled. Well, it's been pulled off the shelves due to some, not litigation, but some, calling out of some of the facts in it. And Katie Doty's her name. She's the author. She came on the show yesterday to follow up on where it stands and what she's going to do to get it back out there. But it was brought to her attention that some of the facts or some of the, the writings in the book and the stories we're told are not true, and so she wants to add in, the context and add in the other side. That if somebody felt, hey, that's not how I remember it, and this is how I remember it and why I remember it, that she now wants to include that. So even though it doesn't take away from Jack's recollection of the story, but it's enhanced with another side of it, and she wanted to address that because it's been out of print for 9 months, and she's hoping to bring it back later this year, but.
If they pull that book, then they need to pull Motley Crue's The Dirt off the show immediately.
Right? Well, maybe the difference is she has some integrity, and
maybe.
I don't know. I haven't read The Dirt. I haven't seen the movie. Just not interested. But I can't speak on that. But the show, just because it's a live radio show. For example, I was getting into talking about how 8675309 Jenny is
Tommy
now.
Tutone.
Tommy Tutone is now the hotline for the cancer survivor community for people that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's 272 8675309, right? So I called the number on the air just to go, hey, this is Jenny there? Whatever I do, some stupid bit, and they were out of the office, and I happen to have Tommy Heath's phone number, which is the singer of Tommy Tutone, in my phone. And I'm like, I'm going to call Tommy on the air. And God damn it, he picked up. And we talked for 5 minutes about how 8695309 is now being used in this campaign for the cancer survivor community. My wife's a cancer survivor, so it resonated with me. And I talked to Tommy Tutone yesterday, live on the air, not scheduled. I just dialed his number. He probably didn't know, probably thought it was the aluminum siding guy or whatever. And I said, hey, it's, I went into my whole thing. And we had fun. So that's kind of the show I do. I don't compare myself to a Howard Stern, but it's definitely a variety show. I say we do news, new music, and nonsense. And but it's typically new music, news, nonsense with interviews, And it airs live Wednesdays at dirtyradio.fm on your browser on Channel 2 Dirty Radio Classics from 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific. And then the Wednesday live show re-airs on Saturdays from 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific. And you can also stream the show and Dirty Radio Classics 24/7 at drummertroy.com. And in fact, everything, all the lies and some of the truths I've told, you can source them at drummertroy.com. Check out the radio show, check out live tour dates, and all the socials are there too. I got a great web mistress who handles my website.
I got to go check some of them out because you're always recording when I'm recording. I usually record on Wednesdays when you're doing
Oh,
your show, and then on Saturdays I do a 4-hour fucking live stream
gotcha.
on
Yeah.
Saturdays.
What I do is I archive the interviews, although I'm terrible at doing it. I wish I had somebody that could help me with it because it's just a little overwhelming. But I archive the interviews, so pretty much everything but the music, and I upload those to my on-demand site. People call, pod. At this point, this is when it becomes a podcast. Although I haven't uploaded in some time, but I mean, I've had guests like Malcolm Jamal Warner on my show. I've had the mayor of Reno on my show. I've had the Hall of Shame guy, Rob Wolchek from Channel 2, Fox Detroit. He's the one that goes after people that rip people off and exposes them on TV. And I've had Stu Mundell, the helicopter reporter for Fox 11 in LA that covers all the police chases. And, I've had Cindy Brady on my show. And then, of course, a lot of musicians. Bobby Blotzer's been on my show. And I had Mark Rippon, the
quarterback?
MVP quarterback on my show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's saying "Keep on rocking me, baby" or something, and I think he might have had a couple drinks. But that's the kind of show we do. And Tommy, the phone call yesterday with Tommy Tutone, Tommy Heath, was unplanned. It just came up, and I had his number, and I called him, and he picked up. So that's what we do on my show every Wednesday live, 2 to 5 Pacific. And you can check it out at drummertroy.com.
Yeah, dude, we'll definitely get that plugged up on the screen. And
Cool.
dude, thanks for being here today, man. And I look forward to anything you're putting out, man. And hopefully I'll catch you in Arizona sometime.
Yeah, for sure, brother, for sure. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I know it takes a lot of time to put this together because I do it too, and it can be overwhelming at times. But you seem like you got your stuff dialed in much better than I. And anybody that wants to,
But I wish that were true.
well, you wear it well, man. And anyone that thinks I'm worth a few moments of their time to share what I'm doing on their program, I really appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here. Don't hang up just yet, bro.
All right, Ron. Cool,
Later.
man.